Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're having a great week and I hope you're doing well. So today I'm going to be doing a dot painting and the theme is going to be rainbow based, and I actually want to test out some of these paints that I have right here, and while the colors are very pretty, the paint is very thick, so I try not to use it a lot. The background is going to be black to help bring out those rainbow colors, and as far as the regular supplies that I use, it's just supplies that you guys have seen me use already. So without taking up any more time, let's get started. So first things first, I'm going to cover the canvas with black paint, and depending on your paint, it may need a few coats. My paint is very thick, so I only need one coat. After that, you're going to want to find the center point, and for those who are just tuning into my videos, finding the center point is very easy. You simply line a ruler on all corners of the canvas and you'll get an X, and you should get the center point from there on. Once you have that done, we're going to work on our first dot, and I want my color to be very, very vibrant, and I want it to be pink. So I have to mix a few colors just to get that results because I don't have that color on hand. So I'm going to be using red, white, and a violet color. And after I'm done mixing the red and white together, I'm going to see how that turns out, and I'm going to add this color in and just kind of see and play around with it until I get the desired results. Now I'm going to select the drill bit that I want to use for our center dot, and because I want the center to really stand out, I'm going to use a fairly medium-sized drill bit. You really want to take your time with this part because it does determine how your mandala is going to look. As you guys can see, I'm not in the center point, but that's fine. It's going to happen sometimes. Just brush it off and try to make the best out of it. Afterwards, I am then going to move on to surrounding the dot with other smaller dots, and depending on what you're comfortable with, I find it easier for myself to do the cross way, which is basically putting a dot in all directions which forms a cross, and then you can simply fill in the space as necessary. But for some people, you may find it easier to just go counterclockwise or clockwise depending on it, and then just work your way around. So really experiment here and see what works best for you. I really like the looks of colors that can fade into each other, whether it's by darkening them or lightening them. So I'm going to add a little bit of red to this pink, and then I'm going to add some violet to it once everything is all mixed. And once I have the color that I'm looking for, I am then going to add some dots in the gaps that we have using the same tool that I used before. I'm going to add some regular red to my palette, and I'm just going to then fill in the other gaps that we have with the same tool, and this is really going to help make the center of our mandala stand out. And I'm not going to use many rows for the red just because it is a bright color in general. So as you guys can see here, the paint was starting to spread and it was just mixing with the pink that I have. So if this happens to you guys, simply use a sharp tool and scoop up a little bit at a time, and make sure to clean your tool afterwards and just continue it until you have removed as much paint as possible. You probably will end up scraping the background paint, but that's fine. If you still have the background paint available, you can just use it. Here I am just taking a clean brush with a little bit of water on it, and I'm just wiping away as much paint as possible, and as you guys can see, we definitely scraped the paint. Afterwards, I'm just going to use some black and cover it up, and it's almost as if nothing ever happened, but I do have to do this with the rest of the red dots because they were spreading all over the place. Afterwards, I'm then going to move on to the next color, but I want to fade the colors into one another, so I'm going to add some orange to the red. And since we are doing a rainbow, I figured it would just really look nice if I did a gradient effect. I'm then going to fill in the gaps that we have with a bigger drill bit, as you guys can see, and I'm going to do this the entire way around. I want this color to lighten up, but instead of using white as I normally do, I'm going to use some yellow, and I'm going to leave it to sit for a little bit. And since I had a lot of pink, I decided that I would fill in the gaps right here just to make use of it. After that, I'm going to go back to that orange paint that we made earlier, and I'm going to put some dots right over the pink dots. After that, I am then going to go back to the pink paint again, and I'm going to darken it up with the violet paint, and I'm going to cover up the last two rows of pink dots that we have just to add more contrast. Alright, so I'm going to be adding some yellow paint to my palette, and it's very thick paint, so I decided that I would try and add some white paint just to help loosen it up, but I don't think it really did the trick. Now I'm going to darken up that orange paint and put some red inside of it, and I'm going to leave it to sit. Because we had a lot of gaps, I decided that I would put in some yellow dots first, but unfortunately the paint was very thick. It wasn't spreading as I wanted it to, and it was leaving peaks, so I used a paintbrush to just help smooth everything out. I'm going to lighten up that yellow by adding some regular yellow to it, and I'm going to put some dots right in the gaps that we have. And throughout this entire video, you guys are going to see me mixing a lot of different paints together, and I definitely wanted to experiment more with different colors throughout this video, so I hope you guys don't find it intimidating, because I do encourage you guys to experiment, because that's the beauty of mandalas, is that, you know, even if the colors don't go well together, for some reason, somehow the painting still looks really nice. I decided to darken up the first row of yellow dots, so in a separate palette I made a darker yellow. Now I'm just going to add in some regular yellow to brighten up our mandala. From there I'm going to make a leaf green color, and while I could have used the green from the tubes, this paint was just too thick, so I decided that I would try to make it myself by mixing regular green, neon green, white, and a dab of yellow together. After it's all mixed, I will then use the same size drill bit that we've been using so far and add dots in the spaces that are available. Moving on to the color blue now, I'm going to use a neon blue mixed with mostly white for a lighter color. Then I'm going to make a darker version in another palette. Starting with the darker blue first, I will then add dots over the yellow dots, and when that is done, I will then use the lighter blue and put dots right over the green dots. I'm going to darken up that dark blue that we have and add dots where there is space. From there we can then move on to the color purple, so I made some pale purple paint and left it to sit. I realized at this point that there were too many gaps, and the gaps formed rays in my imagination, so I decided that I would do that effect with the purple. So I've gone ahead and add some white to my palette, and with this white I'm going to add some white dots where there is space, and this will be the starting point of our rays, and I've used a pencil to outline the direction of the rays that I want to go in. After the row of white, I will then use the pale purple and add tiny dots over the white dots, and for the next 3 times I will darken the shade of purple, and for each row of dot I will also increase the size, which will ultimately give you a ray effect when it's all complete. Once I'm done with the rays, I'm then going to add some regular purple paint to my palette, and I'm going to add them right above the light blue dots that we have. Once that is done, I'm going to go over the blue dots and I'm going to add some white dots over it to create a border. So this next part is going to be time-lapse, but I'm essentially going to go over all the colors that I have right now, and I'm going to make them lighter by adding white to all the paint, and this will actually help our painting stand out more because it's going to give it a really nice glow. Once I have covered all the colors with their lighter versions, I'm then going to go in and fill as many gaps as I can with white dots. Now the last dot that we have left to do is of course the center dot, and I've used white for this look, but you could use pink if you wanted to. To complete this painting, we will cover it with Mod Podge, and I've personally found that diluting it first with water really helps prevent streaks, and it also helps it dry so much faster, which is nice because if it wasn't diluted, even with blow drying it, it would still take a very long time for it to dry. And here's the final product, guys. What do you think? If you guys enjoyed this tutorial, give it a thumbs up, rate and subscribe for more. Also, feel free to give me advice on how I can improve my content for you all. I've received a lot of good feedback so far, but it's still nice to hear from you all regularly. I want to thank you guys for watching, and as always, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye!